say good morning to the ones that may be on their way. Here this morning at Silver Spring Missionary Baptist Church, where our pastor, Reverend Ronald Jones. And now we're into our Sunday school lesson. Like you said, we've got another good Sunday school lesson and another good Sunday school teacher, like as always. Before we get started, I'd like to ask for a volunteer to lead us in prayer, please.
Our Father who art in heaven, we come to you this morning telling you thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for waking us up this morning, dear Lord. Thanking you for your traveling grace. Thanking you, dear Lord, for watching over us while we sleep and slumber last night. Dear Lord, we thank you for your angels camped around us, protecting us, leading us, and guiding us.
Yes.
We thank you, dear Lord, for the Holy Spirit always on this journey. Dear Lord, my Heavenly Father, as we go into our Sunday school lesson, always remind us to give you glory, honor, and praise because you are worthy. Dear Lord, my Heavenly Father, please walk with us and talk with us today.
Please.
Allow the Holy Spirit to run from heart to heart. Dear Lord, my Heavenly Father, thank you.
Thank
for
you.
teaching us. Thank you for chastening us.
Thank you.
Thank you for being trustworthy.
Thank you.
In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. At this time, Miss Pickens, it's your time.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
I'd like to say good morning to everybody. Happy Sunday. And hope everybody staying cool. So today our Sunday school lesson title is God is Trustworthy. It was a pretty good Sunday school lesson. At first I was kind of worried. I was like, okay, I'm not sure on these first couple of pages, the first page anyways. Then I got off into it. It was like, okay, this is going to be a good lesson. So let's see. Again, we're coming from Hebrews 6, 9 through 20. And again, the title is God is Trustworthy. The key verse, we have this hope, a sure and steadfast anchor of the soul, a hope that enters the inner shrine behind the curtain, where Jesus, a forerunner on our behalf, has entered, having become a high priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. Thank you, because I struggled with that word.
Right, that's why I said it the way I just said it, because you can hear it. When you hear it, then you can get it.
Thank you.
Melchizedek.
So, Melchizedek, y'all are probably like, what is that word or who is that word? He was the king of Salem, the priest of God Most High. So I had to look that up. I couldn't pronounce it, but thank you. So the intro, could I get somebody to volunteer and read the intro for me, please? Thank you, Otis.
Faith in God is meant to be a practical resource for the believer, particularly in times of extreme challenge. This is because our faith is not only composed of belief rooted in hope, but it is also made up of our experiences being in relationship with God. To be sure, it is usually during the moments of our greatest difficulties that we find the most comfort in knowing that God can deliver us. This is what faith is, a constant knowing that God is trustworthy to fulfill his promise, to protect, provide, and preserve. The trustworthiness of God is an overarching theme for the writer of the Hebrews. The people to whom this letter was addressed were a group of Christians who had a Jewish background and were familiar with the Old Testament.
Could you read that one again so everybody will know for sure?
The people to whom this letter was addressed were a group of Christians who had a Jewish background and were familiar with the Old Testament.
Okay.
They were facing persecution because of their faith temptation to abandon their faith in Jesus Christ. They had ceased to grow as Christians and had begun to fall away from the faith. The readers of Hebrews may have been in danger of returning to Judaism or to mixing it with Christianity as a way to cope with the difficulties they were facing. The letter was probably written before 70 AD, when the temple in Jerusalem was destroyed by the Romans. The exact location of the recipient and the author is uncertain, but some scholars suggest that they were in Palestine or Rome. Though there is much unknown about the art of Hebrew, the letter cannot be overestimated regarding the work it has in understanding the nature of God, Christ, and the new covenant.
Thank you. So to think about it says, trusting God should be as natural for the believer as trusting on the lights, as turning on the light switch and expecting the light to come on. That's if the light bill has been paid. So there was a little comic there. So does anybody have any comments on the intro?
Well, the thing is, we can't lack in our faith, and no matter in our difficulties, we must trust God that He's going to fulfill His promise when He says He's going to do it, not when we want Him to do it. And we have to be patient and obedient and stay fast
Right.
and wait on Him.
That's right.
Amen.
That's right.
I love the part about the light bill being paid up.
Yeah.
Because when I go to God, if my prayer bill, hello somebody, has been paid up. See, I got a prayer bill. You know, when I go to God, my bill paid up. I know I'm gonna get whatever it is I need. God has paid up my prayer bill.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Anybody else?
The trustworthy part, I like that part.
Yes.
You know, God is one that, like you said, you can just like you can take this thing. And like Bruce said, you know, he comes on his time. But you know, then there's that hope. You know, it's like we never really think about nothing until we really need something.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like a big need for us to, you know, even think about, you know, who can I call on? You know, then like I said, you call a Christian friend, they gonna say, let's pray about it. And you know, like I said, knowing what God can do, knowing He can do anything but fail. You know, like you said, how much trustworthy is that?
Right.
You know, just like when we go to the doctor, just go take a physical, they find something, just anything. You know, who the first one will say, Lord, please. Take care of this. And it is, like you said, once you have a one-on-one relationship with God, like I said, I don't know how the rest of y'all have it, but when you got a one-on-one relationship with God, you know, He's like, He is on the front page, you know what I mean? He's the one that you got, He's the go-to man. And but that's with anything. Like you said, if you try to get a job or, you know, want that, you know, buy a car, your credit ain't good, you know, want to buy a house, believe it or not, God will make a way.
Yeah.
Like you said,
I don't remember them days.
That's right. I like the part, you know, where I like that last sentence. It says, though there is much unknown about the author of Hebrews, the letter cannot overestimate regarding the worth it has in understanding the nature of God, Christ, and the new covenant. So we're going to read verses, again, we're at Hebrews 6, verses 9 through 12. And I'm going to read out of my little Hebrew Bible, because it's in simple terms for me. It says, dear friends, we have to say these things, but we are sure of better things in your case. We are talking about the things that go along with being saved. God is fair. He will not forget what you have done. He will remember the love you have shown him. You showed it when you helped his people, and you show it when you keep on helping them. We want each of you to be faithful to the very end. We want you to be sure of what you hope for. We don't want you to slow down. Instead, be like those who have faith and are patient. They will receive what God promised. That's verses 9 through 12. And in the Know It, it says, verse 9 begins with the writer of Hebrews transitioning from giving a warning to his readers to encourage them. He quickly assures the recipients of the letter that he did not regard to extreme description of those who abandoned the faith as applicable to them. Instead, he was confident of better things concerning his readers, things that accompany salvation. The writer's confidence in them is qualified by their works and labor of love that they have shown toward God's name. Their labor of love included concern for others, righteous living, and other demonstrations of godly virtues. According to verse 10, they have participated in providing ministry to the saints both in the past and now. The writers claim that God's not unjust highlights his position that in the face of such overwhelming moral evidence, it seemed inconceivable that God would overlook the works and the love that were evident products of his divine grace. Not that God has any obligation to the readers, nor did they have any claim on him. Salvation is not granted by works, nevertheless, but God does not overlook those who do his will. God is faithful and righteous, and he will reward his people for the deeds of service and kindness done to others that are motivated by their love for God. This the writer includes as way to encourage his Christian readers who were facing persecution and were tempted to abandon the faith. So this is pretty much where it says, Jesus saves all those who obey him. The writer is reminding us of the promise, encouraging them to keep doing what they're doing and don't lose hope. But how many of us today, sometimes we lose hope, like Shorty was just saying. We lose hope sometimes. And the title here says, Warning Against Abandoning the Faith. Don't lose your faith.
This is why we have to encourage one another.
Right.
On a daily basis. And pray for one another.
Mm-hmm.
What I like in this passage, is that God do see us working, trying to do his will. Even though work will not get you into heaven.
Mm-hmm.
It's his grace.
Right.
And that's what this paragraph is telling us. I'm just thinking about this. But I thank God for at least he knows the ones who work,
Right.
trying to do his will.
Well, faith without works is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul said, I'll show you my works by my faith, and vice versa. The two go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
If you have faith in God, you will do the physical things that God is requiring us to do, like coming, out for Sunday school and so on and so forth. That's a work. You came out to Sunday school because you believed God.
Mm-hmm.
The work was coming to Sunday school, and the motivation of the work was your faith.
Right. Right.
And you got to have, faith. Like you said, you got to have that faith knowing that God is doing. That's why they said abundantly of anything. And when you got a one-on-one, like you said, you got that one-on-one relationship with God. I mean, you just think different. You think
Yep.
different. It's funny that I say that because, like you said, I remember when, like you said, when I was in, growing up, just getting out of high school stuff, think you was grown, thought you know more than you heard did. And the thing about it, I was just wrong with the two left shoes. But over time, I had moved when I first left home. I had moved away. My mom had wrote me a letter, and in that letter had "Don't forget to pray." And you know what? As I got older, I lost that letter, and that always stuck to me. Don't forget to pray.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any other comments? Okay. So if I could get somebody to read Well, I'll read the 13, verses 13 through 15, and it says, God's oath is sure. That's Hebrews 6, 13 through 15.
I'll read.
Thank you.
I thought CC was. When God made a promise to Abraham, because he had no one greater by whom to swear, he swore by himself, saying, I will surely bless you and multiply you. And thus Abram, having patiently endured, obtained the promise.
Thank you. So, could anybody tell me what the meaning of keep is?
Keep.
Mm-hmm. Keep.
Well, keep is, it's like to hold on to.
Right.
Yeah, never let go.
Right. Okay. As a verb, it means honor and fulfill, provide for the substance of someone. And patience, could you tell me the definition to patience?
To wait, or, not to move too fast.
Okay. The capacity to accept or tolerate delayed trouble or suffering without getting angry. So that patience is, it's kind of like it's a wait. It can be rough sometimes. An oath. Do we know what oath is?
I swear it.
It's a solemn promise. It's like when you get up and,
You said oath,
yes,
right? Yeah, it's a promise.
you get up in the courtrooms and before the judge, you have to,
Say your oath.
yeah. It's a solemn promise. So the reason why I asked about the definitions to these words, because to me, they all stuck out to me in this lesson. You got keep is to retain, is to hold on to. And patience, you got to have a lot of patience in order to, when you trust in God and things like that, you got to be patient because he's not going to, as the saying is, he ain't going to come when you want him to, but he's always on time. It's a wait. Think about Abraham and Sarah. That was a wait. Okay? And that oath is what God did. He made that oath. He made a promise. Okay? If I could get, Cece, would you read this paragraph, this reading for us here, starting after the scriptures there? Yes. Thank you. that in itself to me is a sermon.
That's it.
You know, because how many of us have made promises that we didn't keep? I'm not going to say that we couldn't keep, that we didn't keep. Because there's a difference in a promise that you wanted to keep and then that you just didn't keep it. And people were dependent on that promise.
You know, man is not trustworthy.
They are
But
not.
God is trustworthy.
That's right.
You know, He gonna come through when we as men or women is not trustworthy. That's why they always say women ain't loyal. I just throw it out there.
We're going to scratch that comment.
Do you think we get impatient by waiting on God a lot?
All the time.
What was your definition that you read about patience?
The capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry.
The capacity to suffer without getting angry is the kind of part I like. That's patience. You know, for me, especially when you deal with, say, like older people or something like that. When you deal with older people and they don't necessarily have a particular full mental capacity, you can find yourself getting irritated or anxious about them. You want them to hurry up, you want them to do this, you want them to do that, but you have to be patient.
Right.
You know, that's how I discovered patience, where no matter what mommy was doing, or however mommy acted, my job is just, hey mommy, to be cool, to be patient, always conduct myself in love towards that. Not to even slightly get outside of that, even for a millisecond. Because once I get outside my patience a certain amount for a millisecond, then the floodgates open. Then you're kicking and fussing about everything. I can't do that. I don't want to upset her. So patience, and with your children, with my son Leon as an adult, you know, 'cause a lot of times our children, our adult children, sometimes we say, we think that you ought to know that, you ought to be better, you should, you know, but we don't say that. We just still continue to work with them in patience to get them where they need, even though sometimes we want to fuss, but that's not going to do anything but damage, you know, further damage the
Right.
relationship.
Right.
So I like your definition, the latter part of endurance, so I like that too.
Thank you. So just going back, you know, again, you know, God made a promise. He made an oath, and he kept it. And again, you know, a lot of us, we make promises to people, and sometimes we don't go through with those promises. And like you were saying, you know, God and man, that is just totally different. You know, they're not going to always keep their promises. But I like the example that the writer gave here, where he gave the example of Abraham and Sarah. You know, they even got impatient. They were going to do their own little thing. You know, he told them what they was going to be blessed, and it was going to be a multiplication of his offspring and the blessings of the nations of the world through his offspring. You know, so God's promise to Abraham was not fulfilled quickly or easily. In fact, it took such a long time that Abraham and Sarah at one point decided to take the promise into their own hands and manufacture a child through a handmaiden. They probably was walking around, Lord, he ain't gonna do nothing. Let's just go on and just do this ourselves. You know, it took years. It took a long time. It took a long time. And again, that patience, you know, that patience and along with faith.
They probably got angry too.
Yeah,
You know, waiting.
they got angry. Oh, he made this promise.
You know, somebody
Here it is.
promised you, I'm gonna give you $20 back, and you get a little mad after so long. Too many of them fried them past. Hey man, don't even say nothing to me no more. Hey, want my money. You know what I mean?
And I also think what the writer was trying to say to the people is, you know, God made this promise. Don't lose your faith, but yet stay patient.
Right.
Because if he said it, he's going to do it.
Yeah.
He didn't say when,
Right.
but he said it. And once he said it, he made that oath. He's going to do it.
God cannot lie.
He cannot lie. That took me back to where we were in Bible study one night, and I think the question was asked, can God change his mind? You know, I was like, okay. You know, we who make promises, we change our minds all the time. You know, so I ain't gonna do that. He didn't do like I told him to do.
His word is unchangeable,
It's right.
you know.
Mhm.
And I don't know, Pastor, we might have to ask you this question. But God's word is unchangeable, but God might change, you know. What do you think about that? I'm asking a question.
Okay. No, his word, the Bible teaches us
His word is unchangeable.
that it won't change. But he did change his mind in the Bible to how to deal with us. Because he said that he changed his mind. God himself had to repent. So yeah, his word is unchangeable, but I wouldn't play around with him.
Right.
No, I wouldn't play around with him. You know, if he's giving you a duty and he expects for you to do it for mankind, you better be careful about that oath. You see what I mean? Because I just wouldn't play around with him. Yeah, he can't change his mind. And get this, the only reason that we are here right now is because he sent his son.
Right.
If it had not been for the Lord, Jesus Christ, coming and dying for the sins of the world, we wouldn't have solved. We wouldn't even been here today. We wouldn't be here.
All right.
The church, the mission of the church have us here to take the gospel to the whole world because they refuse to do it. That's how we maintain a life is through taking the gospel to the whole world.
And you know, that's what I like about salvation. You know, it's for everyone if you want it.
If you want it.
You know, you gotta want to be saved. You gotta want to, follow God. And like I said, the trustworthy part, Christians being in church and stuff don't necessarily go your way. Then all of a sudden, we begin to think outside the box, think negative. Instead of praying about it, asking God that God work this out, we'll get mad and walk away. Walk away, go to another church. Might just quit going to church. And like I said, and when the pandemic came, then when they wouldn't go to church, a lot of people got comfortable with not going to church. I mean, knowing that there's a God, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't for everybody to come. But every now and then, they just, like I said, in fact, they said the best about a few months ago. When the pandemic happened, we stopped bringing our kids to church. We stopped bringing the future to the church. If it wasn't for God, just giving us his word, he said, don't be afraid, I am with thee.
Right.
But all we gotta do is, like I said, break out the pandemic. And a lot of folks use that to walk away from God. People tell you, I watch y'all on TV, but it's not the same. Well, make it the same. Just go to church. If you believe in God, make it the same. But like I said, that's where your trust come in. Well, do I trust God or do I not? And like I said, you ain't got to come in here 7 days a week, Thursday night, but God said give him some of your time. He wants fellowship on one to another. Yeah, looking at it on TV, it's good, if you ain't able to make the church. But if you able, God doesn't been too good to all.
Right. Right.
Yeah, just on when you're not doing anything, just go look at God's opinion that he even made man. Just for your private study, just go look at it. Now, I wouldn't want to be the one standing before him and he said, boy, I hate that I ain't made you. Look it up. That's a good personal study. We have a whole lot of people running loose. You see what I mean? God looked at you and said, man, I repent that I even made you.
Just think about that.
Think about it now. That's real work. That's real scripture. Now, I'm just going to tell you the real thing. Go look it up. Read it for yourself.
I hope he's glad he made me. But I started thinking in my head, I was like, Leon, how about you got that scale? Well, now, Leon,
it's something to think about. So when we go home today, look in the mirror, like, yeah,
As good as he is to us,
yeah,
we ain't up in bread, we ain't begging for some soup.
That's
He's
right.
so good to us.
Yeah.
And he put you in a place to be a blessing, and you be a curse.
right. That's true.
It's a dangerous thing.
You know who you are.
Right.
I'm sorry, but that's a your personal study.
Yeah, it is.
And someone asked that question in our Bible study a couple of months ago, and I said, I believe that God can change his mind. And he has on several cases.
Look in the book.
He had to relent, the Bible said. He was sorry that even when he made man and Noah and the whole ark thing, that's evidence right there, per se. That God can change his mind about some serious things concerning us. We have free will. People think that God's always in our mind, always listening, looking at. We have free will. God, we're not machines and mechanical. We can make our own decisions.
Right.
And we can make decisions that go against God sometimes. And he can be upset with us and say, you know what, Leon, you were going to get that. But like, I had a skateboard. I turned, my daddy bought me this brand new fiberglass red skateboard. It was in the closet, y'all, because I snuck and looked at it. I know it was for my birthday, and I got in trouble the weekend of my birthday. I didn't get my skateboard. Even though the dad goes skate, excuse my language. Even though the skateboard was in the closet already, daddy already bought it. And I didn't get it. He changed his mind after he already had the blessed dad for me. And honestly, I never forgot that. But that's the way God can be with us also. A red skateboard.
Yeah, it turned you over to a reprobate mind.
Yep. Yep. Any other comments? So I just want to read again. There is no doubting that God was true to his word. And if he was true to his word back then, we can be confident that he is still true to his word today. We know that God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. What a blessing that we don't need to doubt God and his promises. He is faithful. So how do we deal with patience? Some of us, as I already talked about it, Leon, he couldn't wait for that skateboard. But how do we, as people, deal with the promise of God? I put it like that. Because we know he's made promises to us. So it's a test to our faith and a test to our patience. And these people that the Hebrew writer was writing to, he had to remind them, God is trustworthy. Warn against abandon the faith. This is why we need to, as Shorty said, we need to show up in the church house sometime, because sitting back and just looking at the service on TV, to me, it's not good to me. Sometimes it is. If you're sick, it's okay. But when you come in and you with other people, it's just a great help. Some of those people, can you remind me? Yes. Right. So nobody's going to tell me how they deal with patience.
Well, the thing that all things are possible to them that believe, and there's nothing impossible that
Right.
God cannot do. But the patience we're waiting on it, we get a good example from the father of faith and his wife, which was Sarah. And when God gave them the promise, Sarah laughed. Like, okay, for real. And they was already up in age when the promise came. And then had to wait 25 years. Okay, if God tell you something, can you wait 25 years?
Right.
I mean, so that's the bottom line. He might make you wait longer, but the root of it, he said, to them, took them 25 years. So are you willing to wait 25 years for whatever he promised you? And be faithful and patient and still do what he tells you to do when what you're doing seems impossible. So that's a good foundation to even lay on. He can wait 25 years.
Right. Right.
Warring against abandoning the faith. For me, being single, I have to war against abandoning the faith, because I want to like somebody, but at the same time, you want to like the right person. You want to like a good, godly Christian woman who, somebody on my level, somebody I'm equally
myself in. Because the patience in it is me knowing that God is going to deliver me, but my posture in whatever I'm in and trusting God. It ties even into what we're talking about, trusting God. Because I can know you love me, but you showing up for me every time. You know what I mean? Shows me that you love me. That's a lot. We need to look at God.
Right, right.
Even though you're silent right now, even though it's storming in my life, I still know you to be God. That's right. So I know eventually you're gonna show up and this thing
Right.
gonna turn around. I mean,
Right.
that's one of the greatest examples.
That is a good example, and that's pretty much what was going on in this lesson, you know. He was just pretty much reminding them, keep the faith, don't fall. You know, he's coming, it's gonna be all right. He knows what you're doing, he sees what you're doing. It's gonna be fine. I guess it's just pretty much a word of encouragement.
You can do some bad things, like Abraham was saying. Like I said, that's the foundation of our, being patient. Like he mentioned, he's looking for someone to spend the rest of his life with, and a lot of times our resume is not God's resume.
Right.
Our resume might be the finest thing on earth, which could be the devil in disguise. And that's not what God said. Well, man, find a wife. He find a good thing. Well, your good thing might be ugly.
That's right.
Your good things might not have no legs. I've seen men marry quadriplegics. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've seen love happen in a man 8 feet tall and a midget. What are you looking for? I mean, your good thing might be a midget.
Congratulations.
You might be used to dating. This is real talk.
That's right.
You might be used to dating beauty queens. Fine. Oh my God. Like to walk in with your head up. Go to the highest restaurant. But you might meet a midget that like McDonald's. Can't show you all. And you don't want to show off.
You can do it at McDonald's.
Yeah, I mean, so be careful with your resume, what you're looking for. Because you might not ever find what God, the golden jewel God got for you.
That's right.
You might never find her, and then when you stand before God, you wonder why you were so unhappy. He said, well, I sent her to you.
That's
You
right.
didn't want her.
That's right. It's the promise, so believe in the promise. It's the promise. So be patient, Leon, she coming. Be patient, she coming. She might be a midget, but she coming. So, we got 2 minutes. So the last part of it is from faith to promise, and that's verses 16 through 20. Could I get a volunteer to read that, please?
Humans, of course, swear by someone greater than themselves, and an oath given as confirmation puts an end to dispute amongst them. In the same way, when God desired to show even more clearly to the hearers of the promise the unchangeable character of his purpose, he guaranteed it by an oath, so that through two unchangeable things in which it is impossible that God will prove false, we who have taken refuge might be strongly encouraged to seize the hope set before us. We have this hope, a sure and steadfast anchor of the soul, a hope that enters the inner shrine behind the curtain, where Jesus, a forerunner on our behalf, has entered, having become a high priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. There you go.
Thank you. Minister Leon, could you read that paragraph, that last part of that, please?
The writer returns to discussing the significance of an oath in verse 16. According to him, human beings swear by the greater beings to back up their statements because the promise of a human being is not reliable enough for trust. To show more abundantly the unchanging nature of his counsel, God makes an oath to Abraham.
That sums up the Sunday school lesson, and that's, I can't sum it up any better, you know. It is, you know, God is who he is, and he's going to do just as he says he's going to do. And so the only thing we have to do is to keep the faith and to be patient while we keeping the faith. And that's pretty much what he was telling these people, you know. He sees what we do, you know. He sees it. It doesn't go unseen. He sees it. We just got to keep the faith. And again, patience. Patience is a very strong word. And it's also a very hard act to fulfill. I don't know if you call it an act, but sometimes it's hard to fulfill when you're waiting on certain things. But like Abraham and Sarah, of course, you know, 25 years, that's a long time. You know, so at some point you're going to think, well, is it really going to happen? You know, but if he said it, it's going to happen. Whether it take 25 years or 1,000 years, if he said it, it's going to happen.
And you know, the baby could come sooner, Abraham and Sarah, if they hadn't went on ahead and messed up. You know, a lot of times we delay the blessing of God.
Right.
The skateboard was there; it was in the closet, already bought and purchased. But because of my unfaithfulness or my disobedience, I wasn't able to get it until later. I eventually got the skateboard, and it was my birthday's in July. I ain't get the skateboard till September. So, but because of my, y'all used to ride skateboards, didn't you? Back then? But because you remember, but because of my disobedience, that's where we are in life. God has things for us. You know, whether it's a skateboard or a shiny car or a mate or a home, we have to be in line with His word.
That's right.
And not fainting and acting out just because it's taking too long. Hallelujah. But baby, it's already in the closet.
That's right.
Just make sure you lie when you get it.
Just a
Yeah,
quick,
we made our own. We made our own skateboard from our skate. And then we made the kind that you push around. They sell now.
Right. Awesome.
Oh yeah, but we made the kind that you put the top on it with bars, and we used to run around with it. We made that back. We made it. We made it back then. Yeah, we need that.
God could have had it.
Just like grandma made ice coffee.
right.
That one, man.
That's right. That's right. Just a long story short, I just thought about it, and thank God for the remembrance. You know, I did an Abraham and Sarah type thing. I was wanting a child, and then I ended up having 2 stillborns before I had my daughter. But one of them was out of two of them was out of wedlock. And then I ended up getting pregnant with my now daughter, Kelsey. She came years later on my birthday. She came a month early, and that is nothing but a blessing from God. But it goes to show you that He's going to do what He's going to do when He's going to do it. You know, and that's why y'all hear me talk about my daughter all the time, because she is nothing but a blessing to me. Nothing but a blessing to me from God. But it was me. I wasn't being patient. I didn't have the faith. But God, I got a little girl now. She's on my birthday, so that's a blessing. She's a big girl now, but y'all thank y'all so much and have a good day.
Thank you, Sister Teacher, Sister Secretary.
Good morning. The minutes of the Silver Springs Missionary Baptist Church, 23rd day of June, year of our Lord 2024. The students called to order by Deacon Hewlett, Area 2, chaired by Deacon Otis, Senior Secretary, Luke 6:9-10. The subject of the lesson is God is trustworthy. The main quality have this hope, a sure and steadfast anchor of the soul, a hope that enters the inner shrine, a curtain where Jesus, a forerunner of our behalf, has entered, having become a high priest forever according to the order of, there you go. The purpose was called for lesson review for 45 minutes by Sister Pickens, and Deacon Waver is superintendent, Sister Christina was secretary.
Thank you, Sister Secretary. For the ones that came in later, didn't know what was the topic of the lesson was God is trustworthy. You know, but you have to ask yourself trustworthy and how to each and every one of you. You know, we hear all these miraculous stories about what God done, and the sad thing about it, we know God. We know what God can do. You know, and like you said, you just got to trust in him. You just got to trust in him with all your heart. Like you said, God is a man that, like you said, he said he'd never leave us nor forsake us. And look at us. You know, we done been in situations we didn't even know whether we was going to live the next day. You know, we've been in situations, you know, like you said, getting our first homes, our first cars and stuff. The first thing we do is pray and ask the Lord, you know, if it be thy will. You know, because like you said, a lot of times we ask God for stuff and he'll give it to us and we can't even handle it. We ask for stuff, we ask for, you know, materialistic stuff. And, you know, God done put life in us, you know, and gave us, you know, an invitation to Christ. You know, and if you accept God's invitation to Christ, believe it or not, like you said, that trustworthy part will come easy. You know, when we need anything, the first thing we do is go to God. Go to God in prayer. And believe it or not, you talking about trustworthy. If we go to God, say, if you're going to trust me for one thing, trust me for all things. And you just got to remember who God is. Pastor, you got anything? Anyone have anything? Let us stand. May the Lord watch between me and thee while we're absent, one from another. Let us all say amen.